Okay, hi. In this video, I will record and explain how to answer question number 3 for stock valuation. Okay, now for question number 3, the stock of Colby Corporation has just paid dividend of 150 per share. Okay, so remember, in this stock valuation topic, you will see two things. One is the dividend, one is the share price that you need to calculate lah. Okay, but usually dividend, okay, so dividend is the compensation that a company give to the stockholder, okay, for buying their shares lah. Okay, so for the preferred stockholder or preference shares, it's compulsory for the company to pay them dividend, okay, on the yearly basis, but they can delay the payment of the dividend. Yeah, but for the common stockholder, it's not compulsory for the company to pay the dividend, but the moment they announce to the public that they will pay dividend, then they are obligated to pay the dividend to the shareholders lah. Okay, so but actually for the common stockholder companies, it's not compulsory to pay dividend lah. Okay, now, so then this dividend is expected to grow at a constant rate of 10%. Okay, so usually in this question you will see two percentage. One is the dividend increment rate. Yeah, see, dividend is expected to grow. So this is what we call as growth rate. Okay, growth rate, or we note this as G. Okay, growth rate meaning that is the dividend increment rate. Yeah, assume the required return on the stock is 12%. So this is the usual R. It can be small r, it can be big r, it can be big R, whatever it is still the same. Okay, now the first question asks you compute next year dividend. So usually in my question, I will either give you D0 or D1. Okay, so D0 is this one. This is D0. Sorry. Okay, this is D0. Yeah, so basically D0 is the dividend that has just paid, last year dividend, or recently paid. Okay, zero, D stand for dividend, zero meaning at the moment lah, or the current, or the last year. Okay, now D1 meaning next year dividend. One, right? Okay, dividend is at next year lah. So basically like this question A, you need to determine the D1. Okay, so you guys have to refer back to the slide notes or the formula booklet. Okay, so now for you to calculate the dividend, right? So usually the D1 is coming from the D0 times 1 plus G. Okay, this is actually power by 1 lah, but usually I don't write that one. Okay, so remember in my question I will either give you this or this. Yeah, so now after that you calculate the dividend, because you know that this is D0, right? So D0 is 150 multiply 1 plus the growth rate is 10%. Okay, then you calculate this, you will get 1.65, meaning next year, yeah, you will receive the dividend of 1.65 per share. Okay, now after you calculate the next year dividend, right? Okay, the question can ask also, okay, provided that you have the dividend growth rate. Okay, so you actually can predict the expected future expected future dividend. Okay, expected future dividend. I'm talking about dividend. Okay, don't confuse. So we have the D, we also have the P. P stand for price. Okay, D stand for dividend. Okay, now, so next question, compute expected dividend in year 5. Okay, so with this question, then you have to determine what is the expected future dividend price. Okay, so here the dividend in year 5, so meaning we note this as D5. Okay, so for the dividend, if you want to determine the expected future dividend, it is actually you can derive by this formula. Okay, sometimes I wrote N, the N, sometimes I wrote N as T. Okay, basically this is referring to the time lah, or the period lah. Okay, so plus 1 G power by the N. Okay, power by the N. So meaning for whatever year, provided that you know the D0, okay, you can calculate the future dividend lah. Okay, now let's say like this one D5, right? So you know the D0 has been given here, this one. Okay, so you just multiply 1 plus G power by 5. If let's say you want to find dividend as at year 100, right? Let's say lah, you want to find dividend as at year 100, then you just multiply okay, by 100, power by 100. Okay, this one is still the same. Yeah, only this part that you need to change. This one, the thing that you need to change. Yeah, okay, so then here 1.5, then you sub all the info. 1 plus 10%, power by 5. Okay, then you get the answer. 1.1 power 5. Okay, so it's, and make sure you round up your answer to 2 decimal point. 2.42. Okay, wait, let me calculate again. 1.1 power 5. Okay, 2.42. So this is, in the next 5 years, you expect the dividend will be 2.42 per shares. Okay, now moving on to the question number C. Okay, question C, compute the current stock price. See, current stock price. So this is actually P0. Okay, so now actually most of the question so when you calculate the current stock price, right, basically you are actually looking, you are using the concept of present value, okay, with the expected future dividend that you have. But first you have to determine the dividend lah, okay, and then only you can calculate the current share price lah. Okay, so basically you're using the present value concept. Okay, but okay, but we have another theory, what we call as dividend growth model or the golden growth model. Okay, this is your slide. So this is where, okay, you have this formula. Okay, P0, if you refer back to the formula booklet, even in the slide 1, you have this, right? Okay, you have this. This R is the required return. It can be small, it can be big. R is the same thing. So this is the dividend growth model formula. But there are a few assumptions. One of it is the required return must be more than the growth rate lah. That is one of the requirement. But if let's say the growth rate is lesser than that, then you shouldn't be using this formula. Okay, but usually as long as you see there's a dividend growth rate and the dividend the G, okay, as long as you see this lah, okay, as long as you see this, then whatever the question, if let's say the question asks you to calculate the share price, I'm talking about the share price then you use this formula lah. Okay, now for this formula later on, you can use only either one, whether this or this. Okay, so as you can see here, right, wait, let me, okay, now this one, right, is actually equivalent to D1, which is this. Okay, so mathematically you have to look back at the question. So if let's say the question you already have you have the D0, then you use this formula. If let's say in the question they provide you next year dividend, like this one D0, right? If let's say the question provide you D1 next year dividend, then you use this one, meaning P0 equivalent to D1, meaning this. Okay, either one. Now, so therefore for this question, you actually can use either one as well, because we already in the A1 they already asked you to calculate the D1. Okay, but we assume we don't have the A1. Okay, so either way you still get the same answer. Okay, so I will just use for both. So let's say we want to use this one. Okay, so the D0 just now is 150, right? Multiply 1 plus the growth rate is 10%. Okay, and then the required return is 12% lah. So 12% minus 10%. Okay, this one must be together. Okay, then you calculate that one. 2%. Hmm, 82.50. Okay, so that's the answer. Remember, in finance, this one contain more marks compared to this. This is only half. This one is small. Okay, it might be like have 2 or 3 marks from here. Okay. Now, alternatively, if you don't want to use this, the first part formula, you also can use this. So, because you already calculated, you already calculated this. Okay, if let's say, if you, I'm not really sure, in the formula I write as P0 or P. Okay, even if let's say I write as P only, right, this is referring to the current share price lah. Yeah, current share price. Okay, now the D1, because you already calculated the D1 here at the question 1, which is 1.65. So you just sub all that info lah. 1.65 divide with 12% minus 2%. 12% minus 10%. Okay, which is 2% lah. Okay, whatever it is, then you will actually get the same answer lah. Because it's the same thing. Okay. Now, that is about the current stock price. Yeah. Now, with that also, we can calculate expected future share price, stock price, not dividend. Okay. So when it comes to the expected future share price, like this one, right? It's in year 8. Okay, the formula is, if you refer to the formula booklet, it will be like this. Okay. So this one actually P8. Okay. So you want to determine P8. Look at the formula. This one, right? N plus 1. This is N. So meaning, if let's say like in this question, I want to find share price at year 8. Therefore, the dividend must be from the year 9. Okay, it must be from year 9 lah. Okay, meaning D9. Okay, D9. Yeah. So if let's say lah, I want to find the share price in the next 100 years. Okay, let's say so P100, then the dividend will be 101. It must be additional 1 year. Okay, it must be additional 1 year. Because we are using present value concept, so the dividend will be from the previous year and then you reverse back to the current period. Okay, remember, it must be additional 1. Yeah. So like in this case then, right, like in the question that I put, so now, right, you need to determine this. You need to determine the D9. You need to calculate. Okay, like in my answer scheme, even in class, actually, I just calculate it directly. I don't calculate separately. Okay, but like in this video, I will just show you both methods. Okay, so now, right, this one, this is the first method lah. The first method is just I show it separately. So now I need to determine the D9. Okay, so for me to determine the D9, okay, you know, then it goes back to the dividend formula. Dividend formula is this one. D stand for dividend. As long as you know the D0, just power back with the particular period lah. Okay, so you know the Dn, D0 times 1 plus Z power back with the N. Okay, so now if it's D9, so as long as you have the D0, okay, 1 plus Z power back with the 9 years. Okay, so D0 just now is 150. Multiply 1 plus, the growth rate is 10%, then you just power back by 9. Okay, so it will be 3.54. Okay, 3.54. Okay, so after that, you sub the info. Okay, so you sub this into here. Okay, so then will be the R is 12%, right? It's the same. R minus 10%. Okay, therefore you will get 177. Wait D9. Okay, D9. 1.5. Wait 1.5 times 1.1 power by 9 divide with 0.02. 176. 176.85. Okay, but remember, if let's say the last here is differs a bit, then don't worry. Okay, don't worry, it will still, it doesn't matter. Okay, if small differences. Okay, but if let's say you calculate using this, right, then actually you can get this one 177. Okay, you get this much as well. Okay, so this one, if let's say you calculate it separately lah, but in my answer scheme just now, right, it is actually like this, right? D9 R minus G. So here I put here directly 1 plus G power by 9. Okay, and then R minus G. Then I sub all the info. Wait, not enough space. Let me zoom. Okay. Okay, I do it here. What is one? P9. P8. P8. Okay. D9 R minus G, right? Okay, so basically D0 times 1 plus G power back with 9. Okay, R minus G. Okay, so therefore, you know it's 150 times 1 plus 10% power by 9. And then here is 12% minus 10%. Okay, if you calculate this one all together, you actually will get the 176 lah. Like this one. Okay, this one actually, if you calculate one by one the step, right, you will get this answer lah. So 176. Okay. $176.85. Okay. It's the same lah. I accept both answer. Don't worry. Usually I will just calculate lah. If let's say you calculate together, then you get this. Okay. So that's it lah on how to calculate the share price. Okay. Now, moving on to the next one. Question number 4. Okay, Solar Energy Incorporation will pay annual dividend of 185 next year. See, this is dividend. So next dividend, next year. Dividend. So this is what we call as D1. Okay. And then the company just announced that future dividend will be increasing by 2%. Dividend, future dividend will increase by 2%. This is the dividend increment rate, or we know as growth rate, G. Okay. If you require a return of 14%, so this is your R, the usual R, even big R, small R is the same thing. Okay, A. How much are you willing to pay for one share of this stock? So usually, how much are you willing to pay? So this question asks you to calculate the current share price. Okay, current share price, yeah. Now, as I mentioned, okay, the formula is this one lah. This one lah. So you can use either this or this. But then in the question, they already give you D1. Then therefore, you use this one. Okay. So we use D1 lah because in the question, they already give you this. Okay. So P0 D1 R minus G. So the dividend is 1.85 next year dividend. Then it is, the return is 14% minus 2%. Okay. So 1.85 divided with 12%. So you have 15.42. Okay, this is the current share price. Okay. Now, if an investor offer you this stock for 17, okay, they offer you 17, would you buy this stock? Why? Okay, okay, so there's another investor offer you to sell the same stock to you, but they are selling it at 17. Would you buy or not? No lah, right? Because it is expensive. Okay, you can mention it is expensive or higher, or the actual price is higher lah. Okay, the offered price is higher than the actual current share price. Actual or current share price. Okay. You can write it at your sentence as long as you understand it. Okay. So now for C, if an investor offer you this stock for 14.80, okay, now you know that the value is 15.42. Okay, but now they are offering you 14.8. So meaning which is much more cheaper. So therefore you will buy, yes. Okay, here because the offered price is cheaper. Offered price is cheaper than the current share price. Okay, you can write as such lah. Yeah. Okay, now moving on to the D1, how much is the current dividend? See, current dividend meaning D0. Okay, but here in the question you already have the D1. You need to adjust a bit lah. Okay, so you know that D1 is coming from the D0 times 1 plus G. Okay, you already have this. So you need to you already have the D1. Okay, so you need to determine this. Okay, therefore you need to rearrange. Okay, so here basically because this is multiply, right? So the whole thing here you need to move it here. Okay, because this is multiply, then therefore you have to divide. Okay, you have to divide to make it disappear. When you divide at this side, this also you need to divide lah. Okay, therefore it will be like this. Okay, Okay, I set the info first. So D1 is how much is now? 1.85. Okay, time equivalent to, I sub the info first. 1 plus how much? 14%. Sorry, the growth rate is 2%, so 2%. Okay, and then I rearrange. So this I will bring it here, but I need to divide lah, because it is already multiplied aside. Okay, then we cut the D0 lah. Okay, then you solve this, you will get 1.81. Okay, 1.81. Okay, so that is the current dividend or last year or dividend that has been paid. Okay, now moving on to the next one. Question E, compute the expected stock price in year 3. Price, so now if it's price, then therefore is a P3. Okay, so when you want to determine the share price, this is where you use the share price formula, which is this one. Okay, so now like in this question, you want to find P3, so it must come from the dividend 3 plus 1 lah, which is 4. Okay, which is 4 years lah. Okay, so I will just write like this, not to confuse you guys. Okay, so now again, how to determine the D1, the D4. So you need to find based on the dividend dividend formula. Okay, dividend formula is this. Okay, dn d0 times 1 plus g power back with the n. Okay, so therefore, okay, you know the d0 already calculated, right? This one already calculated, which is this. Okay, so so we need d0 times 1 plus g power by 4 r minus g. Okay, 1.81. Okay, times 1 plus, the g is 2% power by 4. Okay, so the r is, how much the r? 14%. Okay, 14% minus 2. 14% minus 2%. Okay, then you solve this one. 1.1 times 102 power by 4 divide with 14% minus 0.02, you will get 16.33. Okay, hold on, I recalculate again. Yeah, D0 is 1.81, and then the R is 14%, 2%. Okay, correct. 1.81 multiply 1.02 by 4 divide 14 minus 0.02. Okay, 16.33. So that is the expected share price in the next 2 years, P3. Okay, so you must know and understand the concept. Okay, I hope that this video really clear for you to know on how to calculate the dividend, current dividend, next year dividend, expected future dividend, and then current share price, expected future share price. Okay, that's all. Thank you.